The Intermediate Lifecycle Courses. Continual Service Improvement. Lesson 11. Reporting, Service Level Management, and the Business. Welcome to Lesson 11. In this lesson, we'll cover three main areas: service reporting, continual service improvement and service level management, and continual service improvement and the business. The information in this lesson relates to the syllabus section CSI 04. Remember, it's strongly recommended that you carry out further reading in the Continual Service Improvement Core volume as part of your exam preparation. You can use the syllabus document to identify the appropriate areas for self-study. We're going to start this lesson by looking at service reporting. Before we begin, we've got a quick exercise for you to complete. This exercise will test your understanding of service reporting. Plan to spend 20 minutes on this exercise and perhaps think of what currently happens within your organization. Don't forget to check your study guide for a suggested solution. This is a two-part exercise. List the different audiences for service reports, and list the typical contents of a service level agreement report. A vast amount of data is collated and monitored by IT in the daily delivery of a service to the business. However, the business is only interested in a small subset. The majority of data is more suited to the internal management needs of IT itself. We need to be careful we present the right data to the right audience. The business likes to see a historical representation of past performance that portrays their experience, how they perceive the service over that period. They will also be concerned with historical events that continue to be a threat going forward. For example, if the server room air conditioning has failed 3 times in the last month, it's likely to happen again. The business will want to know how IT plans to deal with these threats. Some organizations try and hide bad news. This is not a good approach. Bad news should be reported to customers, supported by strong evidence of the action that has been put in place to ensure it does not happen again. This will help to build a better level of trust between the business and IT. Reports which only show adherence or otherwise to service level agreements are not good enough on their own. Reports need to tell a story. This is what happened. This is what we did. This is how we will ensure it doesn't affect you again and again. This is how we are working to improve the delivery of IT services generally. Reports should focus on the future as well as the past. This allows IT to sell its services in a way that is fully aligned to the needs of the business. For example, IT might have implemented an uninterruptible power supply to protect the server room air conditioning from local power failures. The business could be encouraged to invest in UPSs for other service contracts and sites. Let's think about the reporting policies and rules that need to be in place to support effective service reporting. Time should be allocated to defining and agreeing the policy and rules of service reporting with the business. Service design should have input about how reporting will be implemented and managed, so service design will also need to agree the policy and rules. The reporting policy needs to include the areas you can see here. Who is the targeted audience? And what is the business view of what is being delivered? Agreement on what to measure, and what to report on. Agreed definitions of all terms and boundaries. The basis of all calculations to avoid ambiguity. Reporting schedules, when reports will be produced. Access to reports and medium to be used. And meeting schedules to review and discuss reports. In essence, we need to deliver the right content for the right audience. Many reporting policies and rules can exist, as long as it is clear for each report which policies and rules have been applied. All policies and rules form part of the overall reporting framework. After the framework, policies, and rules are in place, we can begin the task of report creation. This involves translating flat historical data into meaningful business views, appropriately formatted to meet company-style rules. We should automate report creation as far as possible. Report presentation also needs to be considered. They could be paper-based hard copies, online soft copies, web-enabled dynamic HTML, current snapshot whiteboards, or real-time portals and dashboards. What types of reports do you produce? Are they in engaging formats? To ensure success, aim for simple and effective customizable and automated reporting. The ongoing reporting system must be seen as adding value to the business. Over time, initial standard reports may become obsolete in favor of the regular production of custom reports. These newer reports may have been shaped to meet changing business needs and will become the standard. The end goal for service reporting is the targeted recipient having clear, unambiguous, and relevant information in a language and style they understand and like. The report should also be accessible in the medium of their choice and detail the delivery of IT into their environment. The diagram on screen summarizes the service reporting process. The business will have input into the creation of policies and rules which drive the process. Reporting is iterative and must include regular reviews to check that reports are still relevant. Okay, let's move on now and look at the relationship between continual service improvement and service level management. This is an essential relationship, helping to identify improvement opportunities and prioritize the order that they are carried out in. Service level management activities support the 7-step improvement process. Service level management should drive what to measure by defining monitoring requirements. Service level management will also report service level achievements and work with the business to understand new service requirements or changes to existing services. All of this provides input into continual service improvement activities and assists prioritization of improvement projects. Even though service level management is critical for many organizations, it is often one of the least mature processes. We need to assess the maturity of our service level management process when implementing continual service improvement to determine how much value it can add. Service level management is all about building relationships. Service level management builds relationships with IT customers and also builds relationships between functional groups within IT. In addition, service level management builds relationships with the vendor community who provide services to IT. These relationships can all be leveraged by continual service improvement. People often have preconceived ideas about service level management. They see the service level agreement and not the management process behind it. Does your organization have service level agreements? Have they been agreed and signed by the business? If there are no service level agreements in place, we can still build relationships with customers by meeting with them on a consistent basis. Even without any formal service level agreements, an organization can still strive to improve the services they provide to its customers. Customer feedback can be used to identify areas for improvement instead of service level agreement reports. However, we need to remember that customer perception does not always reflect the truth. All organizations have 3 types of service level agreements in place, whether they know it or not. We're going to review the 3 types over the next screens. Firstly, there are explicit service level agreements. This is where a formal document exists, with targets agreed by the business and IT. Secondly, there are implicit service level agreements. These are based on how you have provided service in the past. If you provide good service, the customers expect good service. If you provide poor service, customers will actually expect this. If improvements are made, then this becomes the new minimal level expected. This type of service level agreement is very difficult to manage, as it's not formally documented or fully understood. The third type is psychological service level agreements, which are often associated with the service desk. We publish information to end users, for example, by putting a sticker on their monitor or other piece of equipment. Can you picture the sticker on your laptop or in the office? It will say, "If you need help, please call 1234. In the mind of the end user, this creates a psychological agreement. All the end user has to do is call the service desk and they will get help. No matter what type of service level agreement exists, continual service improvement plays a part. If the service level agreement is formal, continual service improvement will take a formal approach to service improvement based on targets and reports. If the service level agreement is informal, continual service improvement will take a less formal approach, but improvement still needs to be delivered. Service level management is essential for any organization to make sure that IT delivers levels of service that support the business. We need to identify when service falls short of business needs and define why improvement actions can then be taken. Even if our customers are satisfied now, their requirements are guaranteed to change. Let's remind ourselves of the goal of service level management. It is to maintain and improve the IT service quality through a constant cycle of agreeing, monitoring, and reporting upon IT service achievements and instigation of actions to eradicate poor service in line with business or cost justification. In essence, service level management is about building a better relationship between IT and its customers. It is about developing and maintaining that relationship throughout the life cycle of a service. In order for service level management and continual service improvement to be successful, we need to clearly understand one thing. What is quality? Quality is a word that means different things to different people. Our view of high quality may be the customer's view of low quality. In IT service management terms, quality is often defined by what the customer's requirements for a service are. Continual service improvement should be involved in designing and shaping our service level management process to make sure targets are defined that can lead to improvements. The formal link between service level management and continual service improvement is through the Service Improvement Plan. A service improvement plan will be triggered by service level management and can be the result of the service review activity. It is a formal plan to implement improvements to a process or IT service. These plans should be managed as part of the continual service improvement process. If service is ever adversely impacted, service level management must work in conjunction with continual service improvement to instigate a service improvement plan to identify and implement the actions necessary to restore service quality. Both continual service improvement and service level management may call upon problem management and availability management for assistance. Initiatives within a service improvement plan may also focus on issues such as user training, system testing, and documentation. In these cases, the relevant people need to be involved and adequate feedback given to make improvements for the future. Okay, let's move to the final section of this lesson. We're going to look at business questions for continual service improvement. Not all improvements can be implemented as part of normal day-to-day activities using existing budget and resources. IT may have to go to the business for funding and assistance in prioritization, and the business will have some questions for them. It is vital that the business is involved in continual service improvement decision-making. They will help to determine what improvement initiatives make sense and add the greatest value to the business. In order to do this, there are some key questions that will assist the business in making decisions about whether a continual service improvement initiative is warranted or not. We're going to look at the continual service improvement model, but from a business perspective. Some of the steps are different, as they are related to the business view of services, not the IT view. We'll review it briefly now, and then walk through each step in detail. You can see the business perspective improvement model on screen. Let's review it briefly now. If we don't understand the business perspective, we are much more likely to deliver poor service. Firstly, the question is, where are we now? This is the baseline from the business perspective. Then we need to ask, what do we want? This includes business requirements such as 100% availability. Thirdly, we'll ask, what do we actually need? The business might actually need 100% availability Monday to Friday, not 7 days a week. What can we afford? This helps the business to focus on what they need and are willing to pay for, rather than what they want in a perfect world. What will we get? This will be defined in service level agreement targets. And finally, what did we get? Service reports will describe what is actually delivered. Let's go through the process in more detail. Remember, we are looking at it through the eyes of the business. Firstly, where are we now? This is what the business is receiving in terms of a service at present. A baseline must be established for all future measurements to be meaningful. This will be a single snapshot or a point in time. Analysis of these snapshots over time will give us the trends we need to identify areas of improvement. The first snapshot is the baseline or starting point. It is essential that the same measurements be used consistently to establish trend patterns. Next, we ask, What do we want? What does the business want from IT? This is answered by collaboration between the business and IT. This is to identify what the business wants from IT services. It may be a wish list at this point in time, but it is a starting point. Some examples that may come up during what we want include: we want 100% guaranteed availability. We want unlimited capacity. We want polite and courteous technicians. We want stable, fault-free infrastructure. You can see some of these would be very expensive to deliver. The drivers behind these requests need to be understood. The reason must be valid and linked to business drivers. The business must be able to show it will be significantly disadvantaged if these requirements aren't met. Business drivers that would be considered valid could include compliance to new or changed legislation, strong competition, financial constraints, or satisfying their business customer demands. What would be valid drivers for your business? What do we want will require a number of iterations to complete. Long and short-term goals need to be identified and tied to business objectives. In the study guide for this lesson, you'll find a table that shows an example of how to map wants, goals, and reasons. The next question is, what do we need? This is a fine-tuning of the requirements identified in the previous What do we want step. The first step is for the business and continual service improvement to prioritize the wants. Prioritization of wants can be an emotionally charged time, as people might be reluctant to let go of any wants. Giving up a requirement may leave staff feeling they have lost face or don't have any power in the organization, so careful negotiation is needed. Prioritization must be based on rational, well-defined criteria, linked to the business goals and objectives, and departmental visions and missions. When understanding organizational priorities, we need to start at the top with the senior executive. We will then work down through the organization, ultimately producing a fully integrated objective tree that shows the objectives at all levels and the links between them. Both the business and IT need to clearly understand services and which services are critical. Critical services will have the most attention and focus, and processes like incident, problem, and change management can help us to assess impact. This screen shows some of the factors that drive prioritization. Support of business strategy and goals. Support of IT strategy and goals. External drivers such as regulatory requirements. Cost to implement improvement. Quick wins that can be realized. And ease of implementation. To avoid disagreement, policies need to be created that address the areas you can see here. Who decides which improvement is first? What is the escalation path? When looking at a number of vital business functions, which is more important? And what happens during business critical periods? Let's move on to the next question. What can we afford? Business and IT organizations will have a budget they need to work within. Prioritization will have to consider the cost of the improvement project. Is the business going to fund the improvement, or is IT going to fund the improvement? Service level management and financial management will need to work together to understand the ability to fund a project from IT or business budgets. They must also work with the business to define what the priority is for funding of improvement projects. What will we get is the next question. Continual service improvement must ensure that IT works with the business to clearly define what the requirements and output are for any improvement project. Without agreed and definitive requirements, IT is heading for failure. This can lead to perception problems for both the business and IT. Finally, the business will ask, "What did we get?" As we have discussed before, service operation will do the actual monitoring and reporting on the achieved service levels. Based on the results and any gaps between what was delivered and the desired results, continual service improvement will work with the business to identify improvement opportunities. Remember, this is an iterative process. By the time improvement is delivered, the business requirements will have changed, and the process needs to start again. Continual service improvement must become part of our culture and should not be seen as a one-off event. You've completed Lesson 11, Reporting, Service Level Management, and the Business. We've studied service reporting, continual service improvement and service level management, and business questions for continual service improvement. Coming up in Lesson 12, we'll study assessments and benchmarking in detail. We'll introduce benchmarking as part of the continual service improvement principles.